I'm curious about the role of intimate relationships in our spiritual development.
Okay. Um, there's something that I think can be very helpful to know, which is that generally speaking, for the vast majority, the near entirety of the population of Earth, everything happens by the law of karma, which means Newtonian, cause and effect. The seeds of the past bring the fruits of the present. The seeds of the present bring the fruits of the future. The yogis even say your very number of breaths is predetermined before you take birth. I forget which sutra it is in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, translated something to the effect of future suffering should be avoided. Meaning, with thought, speech, and action, don't make your future difficult. Otherwise known as, if you don't have something nice to say. And so this world then, and all relationships that you have in it are karmic. Means that each one is an opportunity to forgive and overcome your conditioning. It's meant to reflect to you the tendencies of ego, so that you can be free. In the mirror of relationship, that you come to see who you are. Come to see the patterns of who you are, and your partner is meant to be the portal through which you pass through to come to God. I've never thought of it this way, but the partner, in a way, is the eye of the needle. And of course, you are that to them. And when the mind settles enough for the beginnings of discernment, we can see that there is nothing that happens in this world that isn't in a perfection for us. This can be very hard to hear when we're still vibrating in the frequency of the world is doing it to me. Still in the sort of rope-a-dope in the corner, because the world is so aggressive. And as the subconscious continues to be revealed to you, you begin to recognize the inner and outer and the dance between the two, and then relationships are that. First and foremost, parents and children. Which are, it's worth saying, I think, parents are guru. Mother is portal to divine feminine. Father is portal to divine masculine. And through forgiveness, compassion, non-judgment, and healing, a lot of healing, then we can come to know mother and father through mother and father. And simultaneously, in this sense of being somewhat inverted, when discernment blossoms, that you can see they're also your children in a way, your parents, your children. And as I'm sure parents know even more commonly, children have been parents in a way, or children also are guru, our teachers. And you were that to your parents. It doesn't really matter whether we know it or not. It's just It's a relative, a profound, sacred, relative truth. And that nothing in this world happens except for by the fruits of our past being presented. And once we can see this, now we can begin to navigate with a little bit less confusion and a little bit more certainty. One of the great things in this recognition is that all blame will fall away. You'll see that in the mirror that is animated with time and space, you are interacting with your own past or your own future. And where you are engaged and the attitude with which you are engaged with the world will determine your tomorrow. Just like driving a car or flying a plane, where you look, there you go. And so if you're engaging in the present moment in the mirror and it's reflecting to you the past and you're engaging it with the attitude and the understanding of past, you will revolve in that over and over, lifetime after lifetime, relationship after relationship. You know the movie Groundhog's Day? The day starts all over again from the alarm going off, and it's just a repeat. And eventually he begins to clue in, this is on repeat, and now I can make different choices. I can navigate it differently. When we come to this recognition in all relationships, but I think in particular in romantic, intimate relationship, we can bring ourselves to the relationship in full loving service, in full understanding and compassion, knowing that our job is to help the other to come to God consciousness. And in a sacred relationship where both parties are awake, this is very rare, I think. Both parties have tuned into the nature of their perceived realities and the patterns of them, and how the meeting of the two is perfect, absolutely perfect, to experience what it is that you need to experience. And then those two now are in the game of mutual upliftment. You fully dedicated to him, and he fully dedicated to you. It works best for the one who is fully dedicated. It works worst for the one who wants the other to be fully dedicated. This is very difficult. So, let's not pull out our red pen and grade ourselves too harshly, okay? This is very difficult because our conditioning is so strong. Our habits are so strong. The patterns of interacting with another, especially romantically, are so strong. And so as we know, so woven into our experience with divine feminine and divine masculine as channeled through our own mothers and fathers. In this incarnation. One of the scenes, the repeating scenes in Groundhog's Day, is that he steps in the same mud puddle time and time and time again. One day he sees it coming, but just a little too late. And the next day, he stops short, steps back, and walks around. And that's the last time he steps in that mud puddle. So sometimes romantic, intimate relationships are a mud puddle. But the lesson is no less sacred in this. Telling you what you don't want to do anymore. But you see, we have to become aware of the pattern. We have to know who we are, what it is we're attracting, what it is we're attracted to, how we attract, and then how we shift over time. Sort of the effort of being attractive fades back into just being how we are. Some years ago, I remember seeing on somebody's refrigerator, it was a New Yorker cartoon. And the woman was explaining to her partner, could have been the other way around, and she said, "That's not me. I'm not like that. That's the me that I was when I was trying to get you to fall in love with me." But how long can we last in that? A month, 3 months? Maybe if you've got real fortitude and stamina, you can pretend for 6. But in truth, nobody can really know us until they're with us for at least 4 seasons. Yeah? I mean, that's just a bare minimum. And we can't know anybody else until we're with them through 4 seasons. Or that's metaphorical, to seeing them in so many different circumstances and seeing them when the pretending and the hiding wears off. And then you'll know, is this a puddle I want to step in? One of the other things that I think can be very helpful to know is that romantic attraction is sacred. It's not always expressed as sacred, of course. And I won't even go into that. What I see on social media, it's disgusting. but anyway. But it's karmically magnetic. So it's an invitation to healing. And perfect in that way. If you're familiar with the work of Eckhart Tolle, he refers to something he calls the pain body. This is the expression of the conditioning and how we feel it in different parts of the body, how you can feel your heart swell. You can fall into a state of bliss around somebody that is karmically matched for you. But be aware of this, not to condemn it, but just to know it, that it's your wound attracted to their wound. It's your suffering attracted to their suffering. It's an invitation for healing. But so often we objectify the other and we think they're the solution to the healing. No, they're the portal through which we will shed our pain through a lot of tears and effort. And again, in total devotion to their healing. So know that when that comes, when the love comes and the honeymoon proceeds from there, know that this is nature's way of inviting you to heal, to shed your patterns, to let go and surrender your habits so that you can come to know God through the other in sacred relationship. That falling in love is, if you don't understand it, is an invitation to great suffering. And if you do understand it, it's an invitation to profound healing. And it will challenge you because we just forget. We forget.